Hello, and welcome to the Be Your Own Dang Hero podcast. I'm your host, Pauline McKinney. I'm so happy you're here. Today's episode is a juicy, jam packed one, and it's called The Hardest Part is Starting. There's so much to pack into today. So let's jump in, shall we? In my personal opinion, the hardest part of the entire hero's journey is this step. It is starting. And I think that there's a gray zone here between the refusal of the call and this starting of the journey, because it can be a place where you resist the end of normal. You may refuse the call and then you accept the call, but then you refuse the call again. And it can be sort of one step forward, two steps back for a minute. And that's okay. So don't feel like you have to go step to step to step and that there will never be backward slides, because there will be. It's inevitable. You're a human and that's okay. So I just want to put that out there first and foremost. And I think that also the acceptance of the call, the starting of the journey, this part is really two steps. There's an inner acceptance of the call, and there's an outer acceptance of the call. And the inner is always going to happen first, where you decide inside of yourself that this is something you're ready to do. And then there's almost like a gray zone, or like a gap between when you accept the call inside of yourself and when you actually accept the call outwardly and get on the path to the journey. So know that that's also normal. And we'll get more into that as we continue in the episode. So according to Joseph Campbell, after you refuse the call, you go into two more steps. And that's what we're covering here in this, starting point. And I really think that that's the inner and the outer acceptance of the call. The inner step, which Joseph Campbell calls supernatural aid, and then outer step, which he calls crossing the threshold. And if you want a map, feel free to head over to beyourowndanghero.com and you can see a visual so that you can follow along if you're a visual type person like I am. So in the hero's journey, according to Joseph Campbell, when you accept the call, you're going to receive supernatural aid, but not until the moment that you accept the call and you commit to embarking on the journey will you receive aid. That's part of this whole deal. You don't get to know and reap the benefits without actually leaping and making the commitment. So if you're wishy-washy going back and forth, you're not going to receive supernatural aid. When you make the commitment, though, and you say, I'm going to do this, you'll be amazed how quickly things can line up for you or can fall away so that you have a path in front of you. It's pretty cool. I'll share a story in a little bit about my own experience with this, but the supernatural aid that you receive when you accept inside of yourself is something that can take so many different forms. And it does within many different stories. If you go back and watch movies or read stories that follow a hero's journey format, you'll be interested to see how many different ways they talk about supernatural aid. Supernatural aid is also really meant to be a way of preparing you on your journey to find success. So it's going to be a lot of the fortifying of you to make sure that you're ready to finish the journey and be successful. And a supernatural aid can take on many forms. First, it can take on the form of people in your life. So in different stories, you had people acting as mentors, guides, and as friends to keep spirits high, to support the heroes. And so that would look like Obi-Wan Kenobi, Yoda as guides. You had Gandalf as a friend and a guide. You had Morpheus, and Trinity as friends and guides. And of course, you had, Han Solo and Chewbacca. You had the Ewoks. You had Ron and Hermione, and there were so many different characters and so many different ways that the heroes were supported throughout their journeys to make sure that they always had someone there to help them. Another way that supernatural aid can take shape could be in the form of some sort of knowledge. So that could be, learning the force or learning a way of magic or just learning a certain way of doing something so that you have the requisite knowledge. And then you have supernatural aid in the form of like in mythology and different stories, you'll see it generally as like something magical, like a sword, or you'll see it as a protection spell or an amulet. The protection from the ocean itself was, a protection element for Moana. And so you have, I think in Lord of the Rings, there was some sort of like illumination amulet that Frodo got. So there's just these different ways that supernatural aid can just protect the hero on their journey. And so that is all around the support you receive when, you go inside and you accept. And then there's the outer acceptance, right? And the outer acceptance really takes shape in the hero's journey as this idea of crossing the threshold. And crossing the threshold is sometimes a literal threshold. So, like in Lord of the Rings, when you have Frodo and Sam who are, embarking on the journey to take the ring to be destroyed, Sam reaches the furthest point that he's ever been. And, he hesitates and he says, if I take one more step, it will be the farthest away from home I've ever been. And that's what a threshold can feel like. A threshold can feel scary because it's at the edge of everything you've ever known. And everything on the other side of that threshold is unknown. It can feel very confronting. And there is this Irish mystic named John O'Donohue. And he has a poem called Crossing the Threshold that you can Google. He also has a book. It's called To Bless the Space Between Us. And the Go Deeper episode next week will explore some of the most incredible questions he asks in this poem. But there's also a passage in here where he says, a threshold is not a simple boundary. It is a frontier that divides two different territories, rhythms, and atmospheres. And so it does feel like it's almost the different place that you're about to go to. And it's not just the simple, I'm going to walk from my friend's house to my house. It feels so much bigger, right? And that's the marking of a threshold. Another marking of a threshold is that there's normally going to be what's called a threshold guardian that sits in front of the threshold and guards it away from people who are not worthy of taking or of entering the space, of going through the threshold. And so think about, when you go and look at these very sacred and old temples and cathedrals, you'll see these gargoyles or these statues that are meant to be very imposing and scary guarding this sacred place. And that's because it's trying to deter anyone who isn't worthy or willing. And so think of these threshold guardians not just as these scary gargoyles, but also as like literal gatekeepers. Or I think in modern society today, a guardian threshold could look like a limiting belief. It could be in your head. It could be your fears and anxieties that keep you stuck or in place and keep you from taking that leap and entering that threshold. So in story, some threshold guardians can be, Agent Smith, who is trying to deter Mr. Anderson before he enters this whole Matrix world. He was trying to deter him from going any further with Morpheus by, he got arrested and he was told that he's about to, face dire consequences unless he gives up information and tells him who Morpheus is. And it's like that kind of you cannot go further, and they make you think that you can't go further, but most often it is really just to scare you from going, and it's really to test you and make sure that you really are ready to embark on the journey. Here's my story. I was living in a suburb of Chicago, not even the city proper, and I had a job, I had a boyfriend, and on the outside I was doing pretty well. I couldn't complain, but I felt awful. I felt miserable, bored, and trapped. I didn't like my life at all. And this person wasn't a good fit for me. The relationship wasn't a good fit. And I was having constant health issues, and my body was even telling me that this wasn't my life. I was not meant to be in this place. And I knew I wanted to leave. I knew that I needed to make a change, and I was scared. I couldn't do it. I kept refusing the call. I had so many different reasons why I couldn't. I can't afford it. I don't know anyone. He's the only person I actually know here. What's keeping me here? I have a job. I can't lose that. I'll be so embarrassed to move back home. And there were all of these things that I kept saying to myself, and my health was getting worse, and the relationship was getting worse. And I knew that there was something that needed to change. And I finally made a commitment. I said, I don't know how my life is going to change, but I know it needs to. And I said, I'm committed to figuring out what I can do. And I knew I wanted a different way of being. I wanted to travel more. I wanted more adventure. And as soon as I committed and started really being truthful about what I wanted in my life, I started getting more opportunities. I had the opportunity and ended up getting a job consulting, where I got to be a traveling consultant doing the work I love doing. And so I got to travel, meet new people, do exciting work that felt really fulfilling to me. And it also meant I made more money. And I now had resources to help me leave this situation. And I wasn't exactly ready yet because I still didn't know anybody. And of course, I ended up meeting a whole new group of friends who I really had fun spending time with, and they all lived in the city. And so it almost felt like I just got swept into this new adventure of moving to the city, ending that relationship, and trying it out on my own and finally living on my terms. And it wasn't until the moment that I committed inside of myself that did I receive the supernatural aid that then helped me cross the threshold, call the moving company, end the relationship, sign a lease, and really embark on the life that I knew I was supposed to lead. And I didn't put all of that together until I was prepping for this episode, but it's pretty incredible how that just really did come together once I committed. And so now I want to get into some tools and resources to help you along on your journey. And I just want to share things that have helped me and things that have helped me progress and keep going as I have embarked on more and more and bigger journeys. As you journey deeper along, you're going to be called on to mine your own inner self and your own inner wisdom. You're going to need to lead yourself, and you're going to need to trust yourself above all. So the tools I'm going to give you are going to be less and less tangible and more intuitive. And I would highly recommend that you just give them a try and see what happens. Have an open mind about it, because not everything is meant to be known and tangible all the time. That's kind of the beauty of this journey, is that there's so many forces at work that things can change in the blink of an eye when you have the right mindset or disposition, or you take the right actions. Okay, so here we go. Here are the tools that I recommend that helped me, that can help you. Number one, asking, what do I actually want? I would challenge you to ask this question every day for at least a week, ideally a month, and answer it truthfully in that moment. You'll never have to share this with anyone. But if you answer honestly and you do it for like a month, you'll be amazed at the things that start to change and unfold right before your eyes. I can't explain it, but I got this from an author named Ash Amberjay. She's an entrepreneur, and she dared her readers to ask this question, to have a life that you don't want to run away from. And I started asking myself this question, and I didn't even realize what I truly wanted until I asked the question. And then I started telling myself the truth. And then doors started opening for me, containing the things that I really wanted in my life. And so I challenge you to try that and answer honestly, and know that no one's going to look, and it can't hurt you to know and answer it and see what happens. The next tool I want to give you is one I got from Mel Robbins. And the reason why it's important is because it expands your capacity to hold tension. Whenever you think about going through the threshold and crossing the threshold and journeying, making this journey, if you fill up with fear or anxiety and then you talk yourself out of it because you are nervous, this is a great tool to work with that. Because a lot of this work is really around growing your capacity so that when you get scared, there's enough left that you can take action anyway. And there's a video I'm going to link to in the resources section on my website. It's a Mel Robbins YouTube. If you are listening to this and aren't watching the YouTube video I'm recording, you can Google Mel Robbins Fear to Excitement and you'll find her video. And it's all about how your body experiences fear and excitement exactly the same. The only difference is what your brain is telling your body. If you're feeling the feelings and your brain says it's excited, you're going to feel excited and do the thing. If you're feeling the feeling and your brain says it's scared, you're not going to do the thing. And so Mel Robbins shows you how to work with that and change that. It has been incredible. It's been very transformational for me to grow my capacity and learn how to push myself to do the thing by shifting my feelings and my mindset from feeling fear to feeling excited. And so I would highly recommend that you work on that and expanding your capacity to feel that as a tool. Next, I would encourage you to make space. If you are feeling like there's no room to do something like this and start a journey because your life is so full, it may be because your life is actually cluttered and it's full of the things that aren't serving you. It could be full of artifacts from a former life that isn't even relevant to you anymore. Do you need to clear space? Do you need to get rid of stuff? Do you need to take a pause from certain people in your life that are no longer serving you? Relationships, friendships, activities? Are there relics that you need to just put away for a while or get rid of altogether? Even clothes can have an energetic frequency of an old you that's no longer relevant to you. And maybe it's time to just go and donate those and make a ton more space so that you feel expansive enough to go and do this thing. The next tool I would recommend is just committing to yourself. Sometimes you don't believe enough in yourself and your ability to follow through that you don't take this step and you don't start. If this is your problem, I would write a pledge to myself. I would commit to myself, or I would start a side quest where I work on trusting myself more and following through. Can I make a small promise to myself every day that I will follow through on and finish so that I can learn how to trust myself? Because self-trust is so important when you're taking on bigger and bigger hero's journeys. The next tool is remembering all of the times that you've crossed the threshold before. So we covered this in episode 6 of the podcast. If you weren't able to listen to it, go give that a listen. And it's a exercise that we go through together where you can mine your past experiences, remember all of the cool things that you've endured, survived, achieved, created, and you commemorate that on paper so that you can remember all of the things that you've been through before. Those are your past heroes' journeys. And so remembering all of the times you've done this before can help give you the strength to just start. The next tool is around naming your threshold guardians. What is standing in the way of you taking the leap? And how can you prepare to overcome that and face those threshold guardians? Name them. Is it certain haters in your life that you're scared of what they think? Is it a certain troll or gatekeeper that you feel like is holding you back that you have to just face? Is there some sort of education that you need to take that step and cross that threshold? You know, I think the more you can name it and be honest about it, the easier it is to just face it and take that next step. Who or what can help you? And this is really just you finding the people and resources in your life that are going to help you start and cross that threshold. Surrounding yourself with people who support you, getting excited about the possibilities. And if you struggle with like being able to see things as possibilities, there's a great book that I'll link to. It's called The Art of the Possibility that really helped me start to see and find possibilities that I didn't used to be able to see or find before. So learning just how to see differently can help you adapt and find possibility where maybe there wasn't anything there before. And then also this idea around calling in the people that are meant to help you. You can say universe, creator, higher self, intelligence of nature, please send me the people who are meant to be with me on this journey. Please let me meet them. Please let them find me and call in those people. Finally, and most importantly, plan a celebration around when you cross that threshold. So what is it that's going to mark this crossing of the threshold? And how are you going to celebrate yourself? Because this is so important and such a critical step, the hardest step of all, actually, that it's so worthy of celebration. You know, define what it is that's going to mark your crossing of the threshold and celebrate the heck out of it. And I would love it if you sent me a photo, you DM'd me a photo and a caption or told me your story, because I would just like love to celebrate with you. So yeah, DM me, email me. I would love to hear from you and I will celebrate you. I just know I'm always rooting for you. Always. Thank you so much for being here. I know this was a longer episode, but I just wanted to give you as many tools and resources as I could think of. I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope you cross that threshold. Have a great rest of your day.